Welcome back to Panther Shadow, and it looks like Jack survived his 21st birthday weekend, so glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm currently not passed out face first on 12 Mile Road, so I think we can consider it a victory. Um, it was a fun time, had a good time, hung out with some friends, got some family, talked some family, everyone was calling me about it. I was talk of the town as it were. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Glad you got to enjoy it. You turned 21 only once, so better make the most of it. And we are without Patrick again this week, so hopefully we get to see him join us next week. But not a whole lot of brand new stuff over the last week, though a good amount of some interesting stuff, but nothing super heavy. We did finally get the Showboats jersey, so we get to do our uni rankings tonight. Um, did get to see the Panthers practice earlier today, so have some thoughts and observations there. We did well. I guess the biggest thing that we got this week, and we'll talk about it, is that there are actually a couple draftees from this year's college draft that decided to actually join the USFL. And then finally, we get to talk season tickets and the schedule as we promised last week. So I figure like the biggest news, other than maybe the uniforms being revealed, was that we did actually get to see a couple draftees join camp from 2023 college draft, both from the same team. Looks like the Maulers were able to get their third and eighth round picks to forego the NFL draft and join in the USFL. So, not something I thought would have been completely unexpected, but still a little bit of surprise, especially this early. I thought maybe you'd see most of them wait until they get through, see if they stuck with an NFL camp, but a couple of them haven't, so that is historical for the USFL and actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, the fact that, some of that they're getting guys now who are choosing the USFL over the NFL. Um, and the other guy who probably were ending up not getting drafted. And while if you get a draft, you get a pretty solid contract if you get selected to the draft. If you're going through that UDFA pile, it is so uncertain. You're dealing with a lot of question marks around your career. And so I think these guys, and maybe more as we see it as, hey, why would I want to go through something where there's so many question marks around whether or not I'll be able to really make to get any sort of security versus, hey, I've already gotten a phone call or I've already gotten text message, you know? I've already
You
been
already have a
told
contract right there. Yep.
wanted. Yeah, I'm already told that I'm wanted. Why not just go over there where I know the answer to my question is yes?
Yeah, and it shows everybody that the USFL is a desirable destination and not just because you flamed out of the NFL. This is, before they even got a chance to make even a present on an NFL camp. So that's really cool to see. I haven't heard or expect anything from any, Panthers players. We are still at our 58, and I don't think that's going to budge, especially with the cut downs coming this weekend. So that's actually interesting. Really cool to see those two, but I don't know if we'll see any more. Guess we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled.
Definitely. But again, congratulations those guys. Traquan Dorsey and CJ Turner, the two who elected to come to the USFL before even the NFL.
hopefully they are, they find a home on the active rosters or, on their 50-man roster, but, not make any contributions, against us.
They have 8 games where they can be as good as they want, but, the 2 weeks where they have to play the Panthers, weeks, 9, they can just, stay at home. They can stay at the hotel those.
Yeah, no rookie of the year type behavior. Nope.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the Showboats uniforms? That those dropped finally. We got to
Ooh.
see that yesterday. And from what I've been seeing and what what others have been talking about, they didn't go over quite as well as, say, even the Maulers did last week.
No, no, as a matter of fact, from a PR standpoint from the USFL, it was a bit. I don't want to say a disaster because I feel as if that's kind of overstating what it was, but yeah, people were not exactly the biggest fans of it. The uniforms themselves weren't bad, not really. Um, but the complaints that people had with it is just that like they had a very similar design what the Maulers had. Kind of like with the shoulder block color, with think similar number font, same kind of colored top, white pants. Like they gave off a similar vibe as the Maulers, and just
Yeah,
yeah, it seemed that no one was really a big fan of it, despite the fact that as uniforms they weren't bad. Like they aren't bad
no,
uniforms, just wrong
and I
time.
think if you had flipped them, yeah, I think if you had flipped them, like the reveal for the Showboats last week and the Maulers this week, you probably would have seen more fanfare with the Showboats and then more of kind of the boos and kind of the eh, reactions with the Maulers. Yeah, they're fine. I'm not blown away by them. I do kind of wonder like if what they were thinking, kind of doing a copy and paste, but at the same time, unless you really look at the color and the number font, the Panthers and the Stallions kind of have a similar jersey. So ours is superior. Uh,
Yeah,
that's the main difference. But they're not wildly different. They're different enough that I actually kind of have them the Stallions a little down farther than you'd think, but we'll get to
yeah,
that here in a minute. But overall, I did not hate them. I thought they were pretty good. They could have went to a different direction, but safe, safe looking uniform. Instead, if you liked the Maulers, I don't know how you really can't like the Showboats. So I think maybe most of the complaining has to do with the fact that it's almost kind of a carbon copy.
yeah. And again, like yeah, I think really the way they could have fixed it is just flip the reveals. Like if they had done the Showboats first, Mauler second, because the Maulers it would have been a much it's much important news to begin with because it's not a new uniform, it's just a retooling, and most people were probably already expecting just like the same style uniform but black and gold versus like
Yeah.
Memphis where people had some different expectations. Although I do like the Memphis uniforms over the old Tampa uniforms because the Tampa uniforms just kind of looked like Buccaneers clones.
Yeah, with silver instead of pewter. Yeah, agreed. So, there's not much for me to say on this, but there is some cool USFL fan engagement stuff coming soon down the pipeline. I got a little bit of that information, nothing that can be shared yet, but obviously with the season impending, that should be coming here shortly. So throw that out there. But speaking of that as well, what's also coming are the NFTs. Now, this obviously is a very divisive conversation piece. for me, you know, blockchain, crypto, we can have a whole discussion about it. But as far as the USFL NFTs go, right now, from what I can see, they're not really costing. They're not selling anything other than like the player ones, like they did last year. I don't think any new player ones are out this year, so none of that yet. But they announced that they're going to do 3 different NFT passes this year. They are calling them the Team Pass, Fan Pass, and Game Pass. A couple of them are, going to be coming soon. That's the Fan and Game Pass. They haven't really given any indication of, when we'll learn more, just coming soon. But what is starting to become available are the Team Passes. And you and I are privy to getting one of those, being season ticket holders, and obviously same thing for
Hmm.
any other season ticket holder. Or if you complete a fan pass challenge, you are able to get a team pass. But obviously, with the fan passes coming soon, being able to complete that challenge is also coming soon. Again, another to be announced, maybe a to be determined. Haven't got any of that information yet, so we'll see what's coming there. But kind of like with last year, like what we got to experience, there were some definite nice perks, in real life perks, that we actually got to capitalize on with the NFTs, and it seems like it's going to be similar stuff with them today, or with them this year, being, you know exclusive prices like tickets, on field access, and even more. Not sure what that more is, but rest assured there is going to be more.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say, like, as far as, you know, NFTs go, they're not JPEGs. They're not just shiny JPEGs. Your URL pointing to the JPEG. So at least these NFTs
Yeah,
are they're different. They do have some utility. So I kind of, give these much more of a pass, much higher of a rating than I would on other ones.
yeah. Even for me, as someone who's never really been super into like crypto and like NFT, metaverse, all that stuff, I do like what the USFL does, how they handles it. Basically, they just treat it as super, like a super pack. You don't even really know crypto to do it. Also offering different ways for people to get involved. Like it's an entirely optional extension of the USFL how they're handling it versus say I know last year with fan control football where they made NFTs such like an integral part of that experience that it kind of took away from the rest of the product. Whereas with the USFL, they're just using them as kind of neat little tokens, to help get your experiences. Um, and there are ways that you can obviously get them essentially for free, or if you want to purchase them, I think the last year's asking price was around $70 USD. I don't imagine for the team passes they'll really go that much more expensive this year.
No, and obviously with the free drop that they had last year, there are some that if you're on, you know a thing or two about crypto, you can get your NFTs for a little cheaper than that. You can go on OpenSea, and I think you can get them for like 2040 Matic, which is, $20 or so. I don't remember what exactly I was looking at the other day. I never wrote it down, but yeah, not terribly expensive. Or if you just want to get season tickets, there you go,
Yeah,
included right with it.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
bypasses all
A
of that.
$70 value, a give or take $70 value, including free, for as little as $25.
Yeah, another win for the USFL, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then some other interesting news coming out, kind of in our space, but not anything that we have anything to do with. But there is going to actually be some play-by-play coverage done by WJR 760 AM. They will be doing that with the season kicks off right on April 16th. Going through the season, they will be doing play-by-play. So that's awesome to hear that Detroit's really starting to pick up. We're starting to see more embracing of it, and you love to see it. You'd love to have that coverage. I personally am not a fan of radio. I don't listen to any games on the radio, so it's not something I'm probably gonna tune into. But for those that actually do, this is great. They'll now have access to the USFL and the Panthers.
Yeah, yeah. Play-by-play being provided by Chris Renwick of WJR 760. So the biggest AM station here in Detroit will be covering the Bears. Accessible, I think, throughout pretty much all of the Metro Detroit area during the dime and during the night, even further because of wacky science reasons. Renwick himself, during the fall, is the voice of Siena Heights. So he already is a very man when it comes to football play-by-play. I'm excited. Springs, obviously, I probably won't be listening to it that much, but again, yeah, it's cool to see that the local media is paying attention and is willing to provide local coverage for the team. I don't know if the other USFL hubs will be getting these local announcers. One hopes they do. One hopes that like Birmingham, like one of their radio stations provides someone, and Memphis the same thing. Because I think it goes a long way to really tying the team into the local community. If you go on to pretty much any uh method of mass communication, and you can find something about them.
Yeah. And so right now, if they do actually have an interview with Coach Mike Nolan up on WJR, kind of discussing the new partnership. So if you're interested in listening to that, you can just go to WJR.com, and they have a little on their banner, a link to that article, which should have then the embedded media control, so you'd be able to listen right from the webpage. So I haven't listened yet. I'm probably going to do that after we get off of our call.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, for the little quick hits, we do have fan jerseys available. Last year, they, of course, league offered jerseys as any sensible league should. And I know you end up picking yourself up one of those.
Yeah, I got the Panthers one. They're not like the ones they wore on the field. They're kind of like a special piece of merch. Um, they're again like if you're expecting getting like you'll see on TV, that's not what these are. And it seems even for this year they kind of scaled them back even a little bit further, because on mine, on the back where the nameplate's supposed to be, it has paint on it. But this year, it seems to be they don't even have that on the nameplate. Um, if you want to support the league, I think they're fine enough. This is a merch, one of the better ones for. But compared to what you'd get off like the NFL shop for a comparable price, I mean, to be brutally honest, I don't think it's really worth it. Right, like $80. You go into the NFL shop, you can get like an older player's jersey, for that same price or even cheaper, compared to a relatively generic USFL.
Right. And I do believe that they are putting the inaugural season model ones on discount. Yep. Well, actually, they're not on discount, but the total 2022 jerseys are low stock, at least for the Panthers, for the adult jersey. So if you still wanted to catch an inaugural season one that you get your little inaugural season patch, those are still available for the same $80. Or actually, are the new ones the same or are they more? Oh, actually, the new ones are a little more expensive. So if you wanted to save about $10 and pick up one with the inaugural season patch, hurry up and do that. Otherwise, the new ones for 2023, yeah, they are
Are
$90.
90 and 80
Yes.
for youth.
So a little more expensive. I don't know. Hopefully the quality is a little better than for the extra price, but we will see. I'll still
Yeah,
probably be holding off until we get something you know, actual more authentic,
authentic.
more I do like my stitched. I'm not a big fan of screen printing, not for jerseys. So we'll see. Hopefully those do come along, but at least right now we do have new jerseys for 2023.
Yeah, alongside all the other new merchandise, which hopefully at the games we'll be seeing fans rock up in. Hopefully they'll actually be selling some pieces of merch at the games themselves. It'd be kind of ridiculous to have all this available on just online. Hopefully getting like some in person storefronts going would be nice. Like honestly, what I've always wanted the league to do is try and see if they get like, distribution rights with like say like a Walmart or some sort of store like that, and then ship team specific merchandise to the general areas where their fans would be. Have the Panther stuff in Detroit, have Birmingham, have Stallion stuff in Birmingham, so on and so forth. That's that's at least one of the things I'd like the league to do. It's lower on the priority list.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to say. And I think part of what's difficult now is I'm still noticing that they're doing some print on demand stuff, which I mean, for overhead, that's probably the smartest way to go. And the quality isn't bad. I did finally get my order in, and the print on demand long t-shirt, the long sleeve shirt that I have, really nice. Like I have zero qualms about it. The print quality is nice. So, you know, good quality on that and the low overhead makes perfect sense to me, and that might make it a little more difficult to stock stuff. But yeah, I agree. I would absolutely love to see the league have some stuff on shelves because I know, like, if you go on Dick's Sporting Goods, like you have the XFL, you can get some of, you can get their official merch there. But try as I might, I did not find anything for USFL. So yeah, outside of shopusfl.com and the USFL store on Amazon, that you're pretty much limited in, you know, at least until the games. I know sounds like they did sell, they sold March last year at games, so I expect to see some of that this year.
Yeah, one can only hope.
I mean, I'm going to be able to model it. I don't know how well I'm going to be modeling it, but maybe I can be inspiration for people buying some merch when they see me.
Yeah.
Because I ended up picking up a Breaking Tea hoodie of the one T-shirt I have, and yeah, nope, I love this hoodie already.
Mhm.
So definitely worth the buy.
Yeah.
But also, as speaking of jerseys, I guess it's probably time for us to do our uniform rankings.
Oh yes, it is, and I know I was looking at the document prior to us starting. We agree on some, but we do disagree on a few others. I think it'll be. I think yeah. I think let's get into these rankings.
Yeah, you and I, spoiler, agree on this, the worst and the best. The rest seem to be jumbled. We're not too far off on most of these, but we do differ. So this will be interesting. Yeah. So The to start off for us both, we are looking at the Panthers hub mates pulling up the rear in their Carl's Jr. Hardy's uniforms.
Yeah, it's just it's always been a sore to look at them. Uh, Even compared to like their original uniforms, it just like I think there's a world where you make their whole look make sense. Like there's a world where the Philadelphia Stars uniforms look great. Unfortunately, that's not the world that we currently live in. Maybe if they just toned yellow so that it didn't look like it's all mustard all place, maybe that would be better. But alas,
Yeah, I
we have to live in the world where we look at them.
All right, so I don't hate them as much as you do. I don't think that there is a bad uniform for the USFL period. Like nothing of it makes me go, "What the hell were they thinking?" Well, I guess the stars do a little bit, but I don't hate them. I really don't like the font. That's probably one of the biggest things for the numbers I don't like, but the color scheme definitely a little offensive. Definitely brings home too much Hardee's,
Yeah,
but I don't hate
never mind
them. They're
never
definitely
mind
my
like the weird
least.
slashes. Like those weird slashes on the side and
Yeah, I
for
don't
the
hate
helmet
those.
stripe. Yeah,
I don't hate it. Like it's a interesting touch. It does seem more to like construction than a star, but I see what they were going with. So no changes to their uniforms from last year to this. So yeah, no, they stay in the eighth in the last spot for me.
and then next up at 7, I think is probably one of our biggest disagreements. More so on your end than on my end, because I have in 7th general. Meanwhile, you at 7 have my number 2 in the Houston Gamblers.
Yeah, I
Polar
don't
opposites on that
again,
respect.
yeah, again, like there's not a bad uniform in the bunch, but they're just boring. I'm
I
I'm not a huge fan of their logo and just slapped on a glossy black helmet. The helmet doesn't do anything for me. And then the uniforms are just simple. And I mean, black and red are their colors. So you're not going to really be expecting them to be much, very, unique and colorful, but they're just bland.
Yeah, well, it's honestly, and this is the funny thing, that's the sort of complaint I have about the generals uniforms. Like, I get that red is their thing. They kind of go for almost like it kind of like they're and like very red is like their main deal. I get it, but it just looks boring. And like their uniforms don't really do anything. There's no like designs or patterns or anything like that. And like I don't need a bunch of designs or patterns to make a uniform look good. But it doesn't do anything for me. And the helmets with just like the simple wreath on it. It just the generals for me just kind of lack personality. They lack like that real identity to them, at least on my end. Um,
Yeah,
uh, uh,
I just think the black and then the gray to me is just too too boring, and that's where I think the generals get bumped up a little bit for me, is that there's a little more to it.
yeah. Now moving up to
But
6 for both of us, we do
we
agree
do
on this
agree
one
on this
thing.
one.
The Stallions
Mm,
uniforms are very just below average by USFL standard.
yeah, like, kinda again, like, in a lot of ways, they're not terribly different from ours, from the Panthers, but just enough that it doesn't do it for me. They don't have that pop of blue that the Panthers do. And honestly, what drags them down for me, their helmets. I don't
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, their whole thing is just kind of like mediocre, like 49ers clone. Um, and like the 49ers uniforms, like to me, they're just kind of meh. So it's like when I look at a team that's just kind of copy pasting the Niners, I can't think of anything but meh. Yeah, and again, their helmet does nothing special. It's just sticker on the side. If there was any like uniform set they could have really overhauled from the original USFL, I think the Stallions would have been one of them. But unfortunately, they won the championship and are the most popular team in the league. So now they're kind of a quandary where they can't touch it, and they can't change it at all. So that's kind of unfortunate.
I mean, the league has shown that they are willing to make some changes, but I think, yeah, no, the Stallions being the most popular team, at least for social media, and winning the championship, you can't mess with it too much. Plus, I think that they just, everybody is kind of all in on them, and
Yeah,
they're fine. They're just fine. I don't hate on them. They're just fine, and
yeah,
I think the next 5 are for me are better, so, yeah, 6 is where they land.
yeah. Now coming into our top five, five for you is the Generals, and five for me is the newest uniform in the USFL, the Showboats.
Yeah,
Now the Showboats, I think the Showboats is more so like a conversation of pairing it in with the Maulers, right? Like you kind of can't do one without the other. But first, if you want to give any of your thoughts on the Generals, go ahead. Like any like bonus.
I mean, I for me, with the Generals, I guess them and the Stallions are kind of interchangeable, like, I wouldn't hate if they switch spots, because the Generals, again, like, if they were blue, think I would be much happier with what they are, but I like it better than the Stallions, borderline. Their helmets, though, I think what knocks that for me is they look way too much like Rutgers. Just,
Yeah,
swap out the insignia for an R and you have the Rutgers helmet, and that brings them down a little bit. But I do like the insignia on the shoulder. I like that touch, and I like the border, the outline of, the dark blue around the numbers. So that helps. That lifts them to number 5 for me. But yeah, I can't go any higher. The Rutgers
yeah.
hate doesn't allow it.
Look. If they want to be respected, maybe they can actually play football at a competitive Big Ten level. Um. Meanwhile, for me, so I guess this comes into this actually also leads into number four, which both of us is the Maulers, which more so answers the question of which of that copycat do we think is better. I think the Maulers is better. You think the Showboat? You think that the Maulers are on the lower end of the two? For me, the
Yes.
Showboats. I like the Showboats. I like their whole uniform design. I just kind of wish that it was just a bit more like authentically Showboats. Um, because I love the helmet. I love like the matte finish with kind of like the thickening stripe on the helmet. I think that looks amazing. Like their helmets, apart from the Breakers and Panthers, might be my favorite in the league. Which is saying a lot considering Breakers and Panthers are on a whole nother level.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it's a decent look. Maybe if they had done what they done on the fan jerseys, where they kind of had like a little switch of color on the numbers, maybe that would have carried it a little bit higher for me. But they did okay. It's a good little uniform. Uh, I don't think anyone's gonna really complaining too much once they actually see them on the field. Obviously, they complained a fair bit on social media, but social media and real life, as we have to often remind ourselves, are not the same place.
No,
Next,
and like
go ahead.
you said, for me, I was say the Maulers again, and that's good. Your number four. Why I like the showboats better than them is probably comes down to the color palette and then the helmets. I get black and yellow, like black and gold. What do you want to call it? I get it. And for Pittsburgh, like I absolutely am glad that they did the recoloring. Like it fits, it's perfect. It needed to happen. That is Pittsburgh, and the league needed to do that to be able to get Pittsburgh, to buy into the Maulers. But the difference for me is the color palette and the helmet.
Yeah, I'm yeah, and for me, honestly, why I prefer the Maulers to Showboats is the Maulers. I'm gonna be honest, it mostly comes down to that road uniform with the Maulers. Oh, the new road uniforms for the Maulers might be my favorite road uniforms in the entire league, and like they did a very good job at like making it feel distinct and unique. Obviously, then when the Showboats came, like, oh wait, these two are the same uniforms, but with the shiny helmet, with how good the roads are, like the road is really what kind of put it above and beyond from the yellow outlines around the numbers. In a perfect world, the Maulers would have like a Dallas Cowboys sort of situation, honestly, where they wore their roads at home. They do like the white at home that the Cowboys do, and then they wear their black and yellow on the road. But still, it looks really good.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't doesn't quite do it for me. Like I think maybe they could improve the helmet by maybe going a little bit further and copying the Steelers with the patch, the sticker on one side of the helmet rather than on both. But I mean that's not much of a knock. But yeah, just the color
Yeah.
scheme, black and yellow. It's not been my favorite. I'm not typically a fan of any you know Pittsburgh teams, so the color scheme doesn't do anything to bump me. All I can think of too is Iowa, and no,
All you can think
not big.
about is subpar offenses.
Hey, things they have in common: good defenses, subpar offenses. Yeah, they might be more like Iowa than we thought.
Well,
All right, so
well, as
you're
we have
number
that
three.
existential crisis. Yeah.
So you're number three. Okay, I don't see how you don't have them at number two. Um, Personally, I think number one and number two are you know fairly neck and neck. So the fact that you don't have them there, I'll let you explain yourself.
Okay, so with the Breakers, right, and this is actually going to kind of more so put it into juxtaposing with the Gamblers, right? Because the Gamblers are my number two. For me, at least, with the Gamblers, I can appreciate a team that does like a that rocks with black primary if they do it right. And with the Gamblers, they're kind of like charcoal, kind of home pants, like the kind of like silvery grayish, kind of like dirty metal color. It looks amazing for me. It itches just the exact part of my brain that likes seeing that sort of stuff. And their road uniforms also some of the most unique in the league. I think they're one of the few teams that has different road pants. Where they have like a little red stripe down the side. It really does scratch kind of all of the itches in my head when it comes to a black and white team because it's hard to do like, primary when you're doing like white and silver as like secondary. Not really dealing with a whole lot of creative options, and at least I think the Gamblers still knocked it out of the park with how they did it. Now the Breakers, I don't dislike the Breakers for obvious reasons. I think the Breakers have one of the better uniforms in the league, and they have the second best helmet in the league, obviously, because well, they actually pertinent, hand stickered helmets compared to most everyone else. The only thing really about the Breakers that kind of puts them behind the Gamblers for me is just a large part of it, honestly, just is it doesn't wow me quite as much as the Gamblers did. Like, they're still very good, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the Breakers uniforms. It's just, it's not, it doesn't wow me quite as much as the Gambler did. They're still very close. Like, this isn't like a far shout 3-2 for me for Gamblers Breakers. But I put the Breakers slightly ahead, behind the Gambler in that respect.
Yeah, I can do it. I love the Breaker Blues. You'll notice my 3 and 2 are the only 2 blue teams in the league that, don't have some red somewhere in there or some hue of it. No, yeah, the showboats, like I said, they're above the Maulers for me. The helmets kind of really put it there. Doesn't hurt that, I'm a fan of the blue and yellow. Love their logo.
Yeah.
That probably helps quite a bit. Yeah, the matte helmets really are what set them apart. But no, just like you said, the Breakers the second best helmets. I think their away whites for the Breakers might actually be my favorite away jersey. Their the away unis just ever so slightly above the Panthers, but still obviously not enough. Bias probably helping in some of it, but yeah, they land as my number 2. The Blues they're just so good. And then the helmets, yeah, there is no place for me to put them, other than number 2. You can make an argument for number 1. I
Yeah.
don't hate anybody that puts the Breakers over the Panthers, as long as there's some order of those being 1 and 2. The people that don't have either of them or they don't have those 2 interchangeable in the top 2, either 1 or 2, is just wrong. Those 2 are the top. I You get a pass because you have the Panthers at number 1, but surely it's Panthers and Breakers. There's for me, there's no question there. So that is why the Breakers get number 2. Then, of course,
Yeah,
there really is no
at
introduction
1.
needed. There really is no explanation needed for number 1 for both of us. We agree, thankfully, that our Panthers have the best uniforms. And like I said, for me, it's not hands down. It's not like I, think that they're so far away better than the Breakers, but they have enough. The blue helps. The helmets
Yeah.
certainly help. Like I love the Breakers helmets, but there's something about the modern Panther that we have from the new logo, remixed onto, the same design as the classic 80s helmets for the Panthers. There's nothing like it. I still am confused as hell by that one comment on Twitter about how they're unoriginal. I so don't get that. I do not know what that person's on because these are very unique, like just a remix of the 1980s version. but nowhere else is there a helmet like ours, and they're beautiful. That best
Yeah.
helmet, I think, most people seem to agree. Not everybody agrees, but I think the general consensus seems to be for the best unis, for the best helmets, Panthers are constantly near at the top, more than any other team, and it's because they're the best.
Yeah. And especially again on the helmet front, like the look is iconic. Like every it seemed like almost any time you look back, even like I remember back when the USFL was still considered like the relic of the old days. The Panthers helmet was still considered like the coolest element of the entire USFL. And when I saw they brought it back, I knew it was it almost felt too good to be true. Honestly, when they revealed it, that hey, we're not only are the Panthers back, we're bringing back their helmets too, like that classic look. And so it's just it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, that was one thing when we were waiting on pins and needles for the reveal last year. It was like, just don't screw these up, and they didn't. No, they hit them out of the park. Anybody that thinks otherwise is crazy. And again, yeah, for that reason, the Panthers are number one, and you're not gonna change my mind on that.
No.
Now, on to how we're going to see, or where we're gonna see, when we're gonna see our Panthers in those beautiful uniforms. And let's talk about the schedule. So,
Yes.
first thing actually that's interesting to me about our schedule is that unlike all the other hub cities, we only do get 5 home games. And I don't mean like 5 home, we would get more than 5 home games, where we are the designated home team, but truly to have, only 5 games played at Ford Field, where all the other hub teams, played their 5 home games where they're the designated team, and then obviously when they're playing quote unquote at their hub mate, obviously they're playing in the hub for that 6th game. So interesting enough, we are the only hub team to get those 5 games, which is fine. Makes week 2 a little interesting when we are at the Stars, with that game actually being played in Canton. But other than that anomaly, everything else seems to be, pretty straightforward, pretty normal. But
Yeah.
that caveat, I know people have gotten confused, so figured that is the first to mention. But so one of the other things that I really kind of thought was interesting was the fact that that we have 6 games total that are actually going to be played at, in front of a decent crowd. Because I know,
Yeah.
obviously, last year, the only game that we got to play in front of any sort of decent crowd was when we were playing the Stallions. And I believe we were the home team then, too. But, of course, they were actually the home team being in Birmingham, obviously. And we didn't get to have that true home feel. And then, obviously, the other 9 games, you know, weren't playing in front of hardly anybody. So this year's going to be quite the difference with 6 of those games. So the only 4 that we won't be playing again, either the home team or the playing at a hub home team, is obviously week 1 playing against Houston, week 2 playing in Canton against Philly, and then playing in Canton against New Jersey, and playing in Protective in Birmingham against New Orleans.
Yeah.
And another
Yeah. And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and we don't have to play any of the actual home team. They'll have to come to us, so that really benefits us. Close that we get is the Maulers, but the Maulers, again, Canton, while they're technically the home team, they're still a fair ways away.
Yeah. So that team we do end up playing there as well. I mean, they're Greater Pittsburgh, right? So
I guess, yeah.
that's still to yeah. At least that's what the league has designated as, which has always been one string. I don't think many Mullis fans actually like that, but I think Canton will show up and actually embrace the Mullers. So I'll consider that an actual home game for them. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
expect that we still see a decent crowd. So I still count that one. What's also nice though about this year is that no Friday night games. Thank God.
Yeah. Like, or just no weekday games in general.
Yeah,
Because
for
there's
the
anything
entire
that
league.
we've been, yeah.
For the entire league, there are no weekday games. But I know for us, like we had two or three last year, and especially week four's game was something else. So happy that we
Yeah.
won't ever have any of that.
Yeah. I remember it was like 1:30 a.m. when the game ended. And, with the way that game ended, it was not worth staying up at 30 in the morning for.
No, no, and I know I was still just shocked for another hour. I didn't get to go to bed for another hour after that because it's just like, what the hell happened? So I would prefer to not have any of those moments at all this year. But if we do, at least it will not be, well after midnight, shell shocked. So because the latest kickoff we have this year is actually going to be 7:30 p.m. So really happy about the turnaround from last year to this year. It's so much better, and honestly so much better than what we're seeing with the time slots for the XFL this year, which kind of
Oh, yeah.
similar if not a little worse than USFL's last year in some ways, which you come to expect. It's the first year. You're not going to have, your broadcast partners just coming in and going, here, have all the best time slots. But this year, so much better. I know we discussed this, a couple weeks ago, kind of about, the lead in and that network breakdown. So I don't want to go over it again, but still so happy about it. Yeah, latest kickoff being 7:30, and that's actually what, week 4, our second home game, so that is going to be the latest kickoff, against the Showboats, and I'm here for it. I'll get should get back home by, by midnight instead of, you know, halftime at midnight, so very, very much appreciated, and this year, pretty decent split, 6 Sundays, 4 Saturdays, so not too bad. We get to watch some Sunday football.
Yeah, nothing really to complain about. The time frames have all been nicely evenly distributed. Yeah, and there's no complaints at all. The schedule is set up. It's football at time that normal would expect it to be watch football because like despite being a night owl, right? There's something weird about watching a football game in Seattle kick off at like 10 o'clock at night on a Thursday. That doesn't feel right to me.
Okay. No, I can't do it. I tried to watch some of those games. Try as I might, I wasn't able to stay up for them. So these earlier time slots, they, aren't necessarily prime time, but I'm okay with it. It's definitely much more accessible for everybody. I know some of it might, West Coast might complain a little bit, but right now, while we're settled in the East Coast, it's perfect for us. I love it. It will allow me to, enjoy quite a bit of the day. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And we are now, as according to this, we're now 17 days from kickoff for us. And this time next week it'll be 10, down to 10. And then before we know it, we'll be on Sunday, April 16th for our first game, the rematch from last year, week 1, against those Houston Gamblers in what I got ChatGPT to help out in what I am now dubbing high stakes hunt.
The power of artificial intelligence.
Then that's the only good name that I've been able to get out of it so far. But I'm gonna keep trying for the others. But at least this one they got right. High stakes hunt is going to probably set the tone again, like
Yeah.
it did last year. Hopefully this year and expectedly this year, it's going to be a different tone set than what we got to watch with those 9 fumbles and just disgusting first half display.
Well, yeah. And also, like, yeah, just hopefully it's just a different game this year. It should be. The Gamblers are a fair bit weaker on defense this year than were last year. And that offense, it's still the Gamblers' offense. No one was ever worried about them to begin with. Should be I'm not going to say if anything's going to be a surefire win or a loss, but I think if there's a good game, if there's a good opponent to set the tone with for this season, for season 2, Houston might have been the best matchup for us to get.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is one of those things that could also kind of set in stone a little bit of a rivalry if it's another close game. Hopefully, it's a game between 2 very capable teams and not 2 woefully inept teams like it was last year.
Yeah.
Lack of discipline and all that. So, looking forward to that. You know, we're still waiting on roster cut downs, the final rosters, getting those depth charts all set and figured out. So, not a whole lot to really go in on that one. But unfortunately, I was hoping that that would be a game that we would actually get to watch in Detroit this year for week 1. I kind of felt like a little bit let down that we weren't going to get to see the Panthers play week 1 at Ford Field. But the way that the league is set up with the hub teams traveling with each other and probably some sort of limitation as far as maybe availability for Ford Field, it was either going to be Ford Field or Memphis that was going to get shafted. And so that was kind of our short straw that we drew. I'm okay with it. Maybe that kind of gives us a lead in, like with the Battlehawks, give them a couple weeks to prove themselves, get everybody hyped up, and then we really do fill up Ford Field. Because maybe there, I could see where maybe there'd be some hesitance with anybody that kind of looked at our record from last year and decided, is this a team that I really want to go watch and play? But give it a couple weeks to start the season, start out 2-0, and have the first home game at Ford Field, and maybe we do get to fill the lower bowl.
Oh yeah, that's the dream. Because right now the ticket sales, while they're looking okay, they definitely could be better.
So we have 4 weeks, a little over 4 weeks before the first game. So I'll give it 3 weeks before I start to panic about that. Have a couple games under our belt, and we'll see. But no, I'm not too worried. I think come April 30th, we'll definitely show up. But yeah, no, it all starts on April 16th at playing in Memphis against Houston. So I'm looking forward to the revenge game against that. I know revenge is being so overused on social media for the USFL, but no, it's kind of a revenge game. If or maybe better yet, redemption. We'll go with
Yeah,
redemption. Different word than revenge, and there really is nothing to have a revenge on. We shot ourselves in the foot. It's time to
yeah,
redeem ourselves. So redemption arc, redemption game.
yeah,
And then we go to Canton for week 2.
yeah,
And that's going to be a good game. Again, I assume Cookus is going to start. That might be a little bit tougher of a game to start the season than, you know, him having the first game, playing for the Stars after Brian Scott got injured. So we'll see. They're missing some pieces. They do not have all of their top talent like Mo Alexander is, with he's with the Lions still, right?
yeah. And I think Caesar's still over in the XFL, right? Or did he come back?
Oh no, Strib never played for the Battlehawks. He
Yeah,
he signed. He was the like one of the
yeah,
first to spurn in the XFL and sign back with the USFL. So no, we'll still have very tough defense to play against with the all USFL DB there with Strib, but no, I think they're the weapons they're gonna be missing. I don't know if Bug Howard has showed up to camp yet. He was a late show last year, so I don't think they're necessarily going to be without him this year. But that's to be seen, as far as I know. So that will be another game. We hopefully redemption. Again, another redeeming game for week 4. We won't talk about the week 8 game last year. That one, I don't think that happened. I don't think we played week 8, right? No, no, we did not.
yeah,
That
yeah.
that's
No,
just a blank spot.
yeah. You see,
That was
my
just a
my
blank
my
spot.
my internet had, yeah, my internet hadn't been loaded into my new place yet, so the game got canceled. They knew Jack isn't watching. We can't stop.
Yeah, so it's just a redemption game for week 4. Yep, that sounds right.
Yeah,
Then,
but of
of
course,
course,
the week
as
after is the big one.
yes, the double header. Stars play the Maulers first. They get to soften up the crowd a little bit. We then at least play the Generals, so that is another, I guess, Northern duel. We still calling it that. I haven't seen any references to those
No,
to those rivalry games yet, so we'll see. But we played the Generals super tight last year. That grudge match between Fisher and Riley for both games, both being decided super late in the game, ultimately decided by, less than one score. So hopefully we can get over that hump. Riley's still there. Generals, I mean, they don't have Turpin. They don't have some of their other, talent there that they don't have Perez. So they're gonna have a very capable team, but they have some pieces that they're rebuilding. But I guess so have we. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that is a wide open game for us, but I guess I'm going to go ahead and
no.
say that for other reasons, though. It's going to be wide open simply for the fact that we don't know who any teams are yet, but we should have an idea by then. Hopefully, we're 2-0. Hopefully, we fill the lower
Yeah,
bowl and get that home field advantage.
yeah, and it's obviously gonna be a big day. Um, people are gonna be coming in from all around to hopefully welcome back the Panthers. Uh, again, as I said, ticket sales are looking pretty decent so far on Ticketmaster. Uh, but obviously, could use a little bit more. So if you haven't purchased your season tickets yet, please do if you can. Um, they're still dirt cheap. You don't have to worry about Ticketmaster fees. So sign up for those for season tickets. Single game tickets, they still got that Ticketmaster BS applied to them. But the season tickets, no fees, no nothing. You just get your tickets.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about specifics with the tickets here in a second. So you'll have all the information that you need to be inspired, be educated to then go and get your season tickets. And we're gonna keep harping on that because we need to show up, and it's such a good deal. Like they're just we're trying to make you get the best bang for your buck, and to do that is to get season tickets.
Yeah,
And also
effectively all season
along
tickets are half cost.
yes. Yes, and then if you ever wanted to expand and get additional tickets throughout the year, you can get additional tickets at the season ticket prices. So end zone seats that would normally cost you $10, only going to cost 5 if you already have season tickets. So it just makes sense. Also, that then when you have your season tickets, you will be able to come out on the 30th and join us for the Motor City meetup, which is a USFL newsroom meetup. Not anything nearly as big as Springstock that will be kicking off on both days of week 1 in Birmingham and then Memphis. So they'll be doing that, but then you'll get Ref, myself, uh, Ducky, and James Larson will all be coming down, or will all be in Detroit. Coming up, coming down, coming across the state. We'll all be there. You will be there. And we should have
Yeah.
a good crowd. I don't know what details there are yet. I don't think we really have any details. Again, it's not going to be a huge thing. So uh, keep you posted on what
Yeah.
we know. But there is going to be that plan to meet up. So just be aware. And if you want to hang out, we'll figure something out. It is mine and James's birthday weekend. So yeah, you'll have to join us for that. But also with that, that starts a 4-game home patch that we have. So 4 straight home games, going to be very key for us.
Yeah. Like I think not only key for us, but for key for the league as a whole. We can kind of these 3 games kind of into one kind of bunch as we host the Showboats, the Maulers, and the Stallions back to back to back. Three of the other hosters are all going to be coming up here. They're going to be seeing what Detroit's all about, and all these games too. If I'm not mistaken, with the exception of the Showboats game, are going to be completely without competition. So there's going to be no Tigers going on next door for people to also possibly go over and see. It's going to be all pay all the time, going up against with the Maulers and the Stallions. So
Yeah,
those 3
that would be nice.
games, it's going to be huge if we can win all 3. That's what we want to do. And hopefully that's what happens. Because after
Yeah,
that, it's a
I
3-game
think
road stretch.
yeah, and obviously we can definitely get into it more, but I think it'll be probably important to get away. I mean, go 10-0. I'm not going to complain. That is not likely to happen. I don't know if any team goes undefeated this year. No team went undefeated last year. I don't imagine that we're going to see one this year. But assuming we don't, I do think that we at least need to come out of this 4-game home stretch at 3-1, and that'll set us up pretty nicely for the playoffs. So That'll be exciting. We will have that. We'll feel a little bit like we were the Stallions of last year, having,
Yeah,
that home field advantage, which will be nice too, that the Stallions get to experience Detroit and where we're actually the home team rather than I think last year we were still technically the home team and they, you know, obviously the Stallions got to have all their music and all their
Vade.
entrances and all of that. So, was it really our home game? No. So it'll be nice to finally give them that welcoming into Detroit.
Yeah. But after that
Then
3-game
on
homestand, flips on the road then.
yep, then from the 4 home game stretch, we then flipped, yeah, like you said, flipped to 3 games on away back to Canton for 2 of those weekends. Canton, Birmingham, Canton. So Generals, Breakers, Maulers. Those first 2 are going to be on Sunday, and then the Maulers game, interestingly enough, is going to be at noon on a Saturday. Maulers games are definitely an interesting one, where they're getting a lot of the earlier games, so it's not a surprise that for that game, we get to be noon, while the others before that are, generally a little later. I think even the Maulers game at Ford Field in week 5 is another noon game, 12:30 kickoff. So that's interesting how Pittsburgh is set to be that. Maybe there's something to that. Not quite sure, but I'm not complaining on those days, both Saturdays.
No. No.
Kind of make sure that you get out of weekend traffic, get out of Detroit before traffic is too bad.
Yeah, I mean, usually downtown, if you're on Saturday afternoon, it's usually not that horrific.
Yeah, I haven't been in Detroit to experience the nightlife, so not quite sure at what time Detroit gets crazy.
Depending on where you are, it's either all the time or none of the time. But
Well, I'm specifically
of course,
talking about
speak
the
Detroit
nightlife,
night.
but yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the Detroit Knights, that final game of the season, home in Detroit, 7 p.m., Fox primetime Sunday night against, well, our hub mates, the Philadelphia Stars.
Hopefully the playoffs by that point are well in at hand, and it's just a formality. Win the North in dramatic fashion with another dub over or hopefully, yeah, another dub over our hub mates.
Yeah, but I do expect that game, if it is like of significant importance, hopefully that game is like absolutely packed to the brim. Uh, from the back row to the front.
Hey, if the season
That's
goes well, I don't see why there would be any reason to believe otherwise. Like I truly believe that we are going to be one of the best markets for not only attendance but for support, merch sales, all of that good stuff, viewership, everything that the league
yeah,
wants to see, that the league needs to see to know that Detroit is one of their best markets, and I think we got that. I think we'll definitely show that's the case. So to recap, obviously week 1, Houston, that'll be noon on NBC. So our first OTA game right off from the bat. Then we go to FS1 on the 23rd, Sunday the 23rd, at the Stars, quote unquote, being in Canton. That one is one of the 3, you know, cable games that we have to watch, FS1. So then for the doubleheader for the week 1 inaugural game at Ford Field, that one will be on Fox. followed up by NBC. Then our second cable game will be on USA for that Week 5 matchup versus the Maulers. Followed by Fox versus the Stallions. Then our third and final cable game on FS1, where we're playing the Generals in Canton. So a lot of these games where we're not going to be the home team, we are going to be shoved onto onto cable, which is probably better. I like that the league is going to hopefully capitalize on all of these home games, true home games for teams to be on OTA. Then after that, like I said, we finish off the season. The last 3 games, weeks 8, 9, and 10, all are on Fox. So I think we discussed it a couple weeks ago where we got the 7 games on OTA, 5 on Fox, 2 on NBC. So good representation for us, and I mean the 4 home games that are going to be on OTA. I'm not going to watch OTA. I will be at the game.
Yeah.
But I expect that everybody else will be able to hold up our end and tune in.
They'll be able to watch from far and wide.
But if you do want to actually go to the game, now's where we should probably talk about the whole ticketing situation, because I know there's been a fair amount of confusion about the tickets, and understandably so. I know I had my questions. I was able to get most of them resolved, by just kind of digging around, and then also tons of help from the league with Brett and Brad. So appreciate all of the questions that they have answered. But one of probably the biggest confusing things is that the season tickets for the Panthers are actually being handled through the Detroit Lions ticketing process. So if you have season tickets for the Lions, you're going through the same area through Ticketmaster for the Panthers. So if you get yourself Lions tickets, Panthers tickets, season tickets, you're going to go through the account manager for the Lions. That is, the am.ticketmaster.com/Detroit Lions. That does require you to have the Lions app installed to be able to access your ticket for game day. They will not show up on the regular Ticketmaster app. I tried. I did not find them. I was able to get that information answered by the league that I do need to, in fact, use the Lions app to find those. I installed it, was able to see those just fine. So that is how you're going to have to handle those. And of course, that app, iOS and Android, as you should expect. And then again, with the having the 9 games being at Ford Field, because the 10th being that week 2 game with the Panthers at the Stars, we are the only hub with fewer than 10 games being played total. So 9 games, but you're only going to see 8 tickets in your season tickets subscription, because the first week, as we had mentioned, that first week, week 3, is the doubleheader, and that one ticket will get you into both. But every other game that's played in Ford Field, whether it be the Panthers or the Stars, so the other 7 games are going to be all their own ticket. So you'll have one ticket for the Stars games, and then one ticket for the Panthers. So 8 total for the 9. Now that was a little confusing when I got that, because I know I had seen, like, on Reddit, there were questions about, hey, how am I gonna have to kick someone out of my seat for the Panthers game? No, because they are all assigned that week, while the other Stars games are general admission. That one is that one's assigned, and the one ticket gets you in. So for both, so we won't have to worry about kicking anybody up. So that is nice.
Yeah, like yeah. Most of the games are on separate dates, except for again the Stars Panthers. The opening day doubleheader. But even then, for the opening day doubleheader, I doubt we're gonna come across any issues. I think most people are gonna, if they're
You
gonna
said
be there
you're
for
gonna be
the
in one seat.
Stars Maulers game, they're gonna be in their seat. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be in for that game.
Yeah, don't know if I'm gonna catch that one, but we will see. And so the other thing I noticed with the tickets is that the Stars games, you're only able to transfer them out to other accounts, to other people in Ticketmaster. That those ones are not able to be resold. So if you're looking to just kind of dump the Stars tickets and resell them and make some of the money back, you're not going to be able to do that. Those are only available to be transferred. But obviously, then the Panthers ones you can transfer or sell. So if you did need to, weren't able to make another Panthers game or make it to a Panthers game and didn't want to, trade it in, which you'll also be able to do with the league. That information should be coming soon. But if you didn't want to trade it in for another game, then you do have the option to sell those Panthers tickets through Ticketmaster. And to make it easy on you, for those listening, you can also go to our short URL. I have those linked directly to the Ticketmaster to buy the individual season ticket or buy individual game tickets and season tickets. So if you want to do that, here are the URLs for that. That is shdw.one/SZNTIX. That is going to be, shadow.1/season ticks. That is going to get you for the link to the season ticket option. That takes you to the Detroit Lions Ticketmaster. That'll get you to, pick out your seat to get your season tickets. And then the other one is shdw.one/tickets. And that will take you to the listing for all of the single game ticketing options for all the Panthers games. And for us, along with the Panthers game tickets, did want to mention we will be doing giveaways for the Stars tickets. Not quite sure how I'm going to go about that. I'm not going to be as elaborate of a giveaway, but I don't want the tickets to
Yeah,
go to waste since I can transfer them out. I will be doing some of that. So keep an eye on that if you are interested on catching some Stars games and you don't have season tickets, which again, season tickets with how low they cost, you should just get season tickets anyway. But on the off chance you can't, or you are, not in Michigan, but did want to, catch a Stars game, then keep an eye out for those. Not sure when I'm going to start doing that. Probably here soon, but that is coming. And then I know we talked about NFTs earlier, but you are also now at the point where you can claim your team pass if you are a season ticket holder. You should be getting an email soon from the league, but in case you haven't, I haven't seen it come across my email yet, but you don't need to. You can just go ahead and claim it now, and you would just need to go to usfl.fans, FANS/claim, and then just enter your sign in with your crypto wallet for Ether. And if you have any questions, you don't know about anything about that, the website should be able to get you to do that. You should be able to sign up for an account with Taurus and how they have that set up, and that get yourself a wallet, and then you can claim your token. You just need to make sure that you do use the email that you have associated with your season tickets. So you can't just enter a new email address and expect to be able to claim that. You will have to use the one that the league knows, is aware of, that you're using for your season tickets.
Yeah, and again, they'll be sending out that later email shortly. I think for
But
us
if
in the
you're
next day.
listening this, yeah, yeah, so that should be coming soon. That'll be nice. Said I'm looking forward to all the perks that I'll be getting from that. But I already have mine still from last year, so getting mine this year isn't super, super important. But if you've been listening so far, now we get to the juicy bits. We are in the midst of training camp. This week is week 2 of the 3-week training camp. This week is where where the teams finally get to start culling down the roster sizes. So last week for all 58 that started with the camp to be able to show what they have and hopefully make the final roster on Sunday of this week. So, the 2nd of April, we will have the first cut down to 54 players from the 58 active roster. And
Mhm.
then after that, next weekend, next Saturday, the 8th, will be the final cut down to 50. So that's exciting. It's going to be it's going to be real once we finally get those cut downs happening. Get to know what our roster's actually going to be. As much as I feel bad about those, that'll be getting cut. Uh, just these cut downs are necessary, and it just means that football is right around the corner.
Yeah, it means we're closer than ever.
And hey,
Yeah, and
unfortunately,
I
yeah,
know
it is
especially.
quite tough.
Hmm?
I'll say, and unfortunately, yeah, like I said, it's a tough job to have those cut downs, but they are necessary. And why do we keep talking? Why, like, we're already at how long? Jesus.
I don't know. I say we just I say we just kind of brunt through at least this portion of just the training camp and then save the last little bit for I guess next week. Because next week we'll reload up with topics about like who gets cut, who didn't get cut, da 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 da.
Yeah, that might actually be pretty pretty decent next week with being able to do our starters, because then we'll be at that cusp of the final cut down. So I am good with that. And so there was also some confusion I noticed regarding, the list of the rosters, 'cause with the suspended list. So we did get some more information this week from that. So I figured we would kind of share and clear up any additional confusions. So the suspended list, kind of what I had thought, but didn't really say anything, or certainly didn't know for sure. But that was more or less the DNR list, the did not report list. So any players that were on that suspended list was not a disciplinary, nothing, anything like that. Just that they didn't report, or they left camp for whatever reason. They were put on that suspended list, and of course they came back. They would be able to be put back on the active list, assuming that there were spaces left on the active, because we were only carrying 58 active members.
Yeah.
We don't get a couple of our players. We started off with 3 inactives with Jalen Burrell, our free agent linebacker, Leon Jacobs, and then our tackle that we had signed last year in Walter Palmore. But Walter Palmore did show up to camp, so we just have the 2 inactives, and then we did make a few signings that we haven't been able to talk about recently. I mean, we have talked about Strong. Obviously, probably one of our biggest signings other than Kimdichi, but that is definitely going to be another topic for us to discuss with the pending QB battle that we have. We have 3 very capable quarterbacks. He ends up being our third. And then we did bring in another hometown dude with Josh Butler out of MSU. Excited to have him battle for the final roster. And then Rondell Carter out of James Madison, defensive lineman / linebacker, which unfortunately means that we lost a couple of players in linebacker Mo Vincolo from last year. He was with the team for the entire season. He was the first one that the league announced that we released, and then we also released Isaiah McCoy, which reminds me, I forgot to add another signee that we get to this. We did, in fact, re-sign wide receiver Devin Ross. He had some impact last year, 28 catches for 309, 312 yards. So nothing, and 1 touchdown. So nothing otherworldly, but he was definitely solid for us when our offense started to make some waves, started to click last year. So certainly I'm happy to have him back. And just for fun, I wanted to, kind of talk about some notable changes with, with some numbers. Like last year, we had a couple of different guys with the number 2 jersey, being one of those being Devin Ross, obviously the first being Shea Patterson. Both of them had left at the end of the season, so Stevie Scott ended up taking that number. So he will be wearing number 2 this year. And Devin Ross, at least according to the roster website, is going to be wearing number 35. Kind of a weird number for a wide receiver. So, I
that doesn't
assume
sound
we
right.
might see that change. Yeah. We'll see that change probably after final cut downs if he makes that final roster. Then Josh Love moved from number 19 to number 12 after Paxton left after the year. So new number 12. And our other quarterback from last year, Barrier, is now number 6 instead of 18. If you see any of the camp content, you'll notice that, he's wearing the red number 5, but the actual number 5 who'll be wearing that through the year is our leading tackler from 22, Frank Ginda, who was wearing the number 4 jersey last year, but he gets his college jersey back, his college number back with wearing number 5 this year.
Yeah.
And then a couple of the newcomers, some of the bigger names of interest. Robert Kimdichi is going to be wearing number 91. Our fan favorite at this point, QB in Carson Strong, is going to be wearing number 11. And then for the Michigan fans among us, Delano Hill is going to be wearing, at least at this point, number 19. If you want to know the rest of our numbers, you can check the Instagram. I did put graphics out for all of the players' numbers, at least that I'm aware of, going off of what the league has on the rosters. So you can check that out. And since we are getting long-winded, I think we could probably just go through the rest pretty quickly. For content, I love what I'm seeing. Like it's camp
Yeah,
content. You're seeing, the personalities of the players. You're seeing some of the action, but you're not seeing too much. Obviously, they can't give too much of tape to any other team. So keeping it good, but I like it. They're throwing up consistent content. They're, making say all of the hubs are all the teams are getting, active on on social for that. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see the social media live. Again, nothing super out there, nothing terribly unexpected, but still content and I love it.
yeah, and especially with the Michigan hub producing a decent amount of content. Seems to be a little bit more than the others. Um, it should be exciting. Like it is always good to see how everyone's doing. And then our guys so far, they're balling out pretty hard in camp.
Yeah, they look good. Like I said, I was going to talk a little bit about some of my takeaways from today, and it was looking good. I didn't see anybody getting chewed out. Did not hear anybody getting chewed out. I didn't get there right at the start of the practice, so I didn't get to see everything. Um, what I was able to see was obviously you had offenses running plays, and that was kind of what my main focus was. Well, I was just kind of watching, taking some photos of, and that kind of tracks for what we've been seeing on social media is that Carson Strong was getting a good majority of the reps. Then you had Josh Love getting quite a few too, with Eric Berry kind of getting the fewest, at least what I had noticed. So that kind of tracks to what I think a lot of us expected, and to somewhat I've been hearing that looks like the QB race might be settling in between those two. Um, I liked what I saw out of them. It everything seemed to be going well. One like there was a few passes, a few plays where Carson was throwing and he was slinging it like some really nice placement, great decision making on
Yeah,
his part. So everything that I saw looking good. No complaints. No complaints from me. Looked even solid on special teams. So the takeaway that
yeah.
I got was ultimately like,
I think they posted on socials. Cole Murphy was still blasting it from 50 pound.
yeah, he had a good day, even with him not having some sinus issues. Still kicking the ball well. So nothing's gonna stop him this year. And also, I did get to see some of the personalities. Still very
Yeah,
much alive and well. None of that changes. They aren't playing it up for social media. What social media shows you is, is true to life. So great to see. Everything I hear, I've been told that we have a lively bunch, and that's what I want to see. I want to see a team that has fun, and everything that I saw today kind of supports that idea. So
yeah, yeah. Coach Nolan is keeping the spirit alive that Fisher has from last year.
yeah, and as long as he ups it with some W's, you know, I'm happy to see it. But to add on to that, what I did also get to do today is I did speak with Coach and Reggie Corbin a little bit. I, of course, was a little under prepared, didn't have any questions. I wasn't quite sure who I was going to be able to interview, so I didn't have anything prepared. Rookie mistake, but it is what it is. Everything that they told me kind of echoes the same thing. Getting better every day. I know Reggie is willing to do what he needs to do for, whether he needs to carry it for, 200 yards or, we throw it for 50 times in a game. He is going to do, and the team's going to do what they need to do to get that win. And then on coach's side of things, sounds like kind of, I think, what most of us expected, that he's going to kind of not be fully involved in the offense. As I was talking to him, he counted himself as among of one of the defensive coaches. So it sounds like that's going to be his primary thing. Obviously, Marty being the only coach on staff, being with the team last year, my guess is he's probably going to let Marty kind of run things on the offense, and he take the defense along with his new defensive staff.
It almost kind of comes across like it's kind of a co-head coach operation with Nolan and Marty. You know, Marty handling most of the offense, and Nolan more so just taking as like a super defensive coordinator in a way.
But we have one more week of camp left. Like I said, first cut downs are going to be on Sunday, and then the final ones after next week's camp. So we should have quite a bit more to talk about. We'll finally get to talk a bit more about the QB battle. Hopefully, we find more about that next week, kind of get a better idea and have more to discuss on that. Then we will get to start talking about our starting position predictions as well as depth chart. And then we will go on to actual power rankings
Instead of the drip.
So next week will be fun. It'll be even closer. I said when it releases next week, we will be down to single digits before the Panthers kick off, and of course single digits when the league does. So it's going to be crazy. It is getting here, and our content will be able to write itself. So I am excited for that. As always, as I mentioned earlier, still the giveaway for the Stars and Panthers doubleheader week 3. That giveaway is still going on both Instagram and on Twitter. So if you haven't done it yet, go and get yourself filled out for a chance to win a pair of tickets. You can fill out, you can go for it on both. So ultimately have a couple different chances to get those tickets to do that. And if you need to know where to go, of course, on Twitter, we are at USFL Shadow, same as on Instagram, and also same as on YouTube. So make sure you do that at USFL Shadow. Also, as we are now YouTubers, we have to say the obligatory, please like and subscribe. Definitely comment. We want your feedback. It's been great getting some feedback, and we are certainly taking it to heart. We have some improvements coming along there. And then if you want to follow Jack and me on social media, I am going to be on Twitter at Cheese Soda. He is going to be on Twitter at Panthers Claw MI. And with that, we thank you for listening. See you next week.